You should also accept that, like, you weren't perfect a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, or shockingly, you're not perfect now. And that each and every iteration of u.exe has bugs. How to know what to fix and change versus accepting who you are. I know Dr. K talks a lot about not trying to be someone you're not. But how do you know what you should change about yourself versus accept? If I'm not happy with who I am, should I try to change or should I learn to accept myself? Okay. Let me explain something to y'all. Really simple. Accepting yourself has nothing to do with not changing. Where on earth, and I don't blame this person, but where on earth as a society did we say that once you accept something, that's the way it is forever? This is the biggest problem. Do you guys get this? Like, this person was conditioned to think that accepting yourself means not doing anything. And like, this causes so many problems, right? Like, if you can't accept me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Therefore, I'm going to be a bitch half of the time, and if you don't like me, I'm going to feel self-righteous and call you selfish. It's your fault that you can't accept me. I don't need to change. You don't deserve the good parts of me if you're not willing to take the dumps that I dump in your mouth twice a week. Where on earth did we start thinking that accepting people means that they shouldn't change? Because in my experience, like, actually changing starts with acceptance. So, like, I'm an addiction psychiatrist, chat. What that means is I deal with addicts. So these people come in, and there are two kinds of people that come in. One is, I'm addicted to alcohol. I have a problem. When someone comes in and they accept that they have a problem, do I say to them, good job, you accepted that you have a problem. Now don't change at all, because acceptance means you don't need to do anything else. Go out there and drink, bro. You're an alcoholic, so you should just keep drinking, and you accept that, and that's going to be peace and mindfulness and all that crap. No! And then comes in the second type. I don't have a problem. Which one of those people is going to change? Acceptance is the first step to changing. Accept where you are and then do something about it. The two go hand in hand. So when someone comes in and says, Dr. K, I'm an alcoholic, I'm like, sweet, now we know what the problem is. Let's fucking fix it. And then for the person who's like, I don't have a problem, there's nothing to change. The person's not going to change. So this is what I want y'all to do. How do you know what to accept, and how do you know what to change? The answer is everything. Accept each and every aspect of yourself. Whatever you are right now, this is the present. I know this sounds kind of weird, but you can't do anything about anything that has happened before now. There is literally, if you have graduated from college and you don't have a job 1 year out because of the pandemic, there is nothing you can do about that. So accept it. You are a college graduate with no job for 1 year, and then change it. The problem is that the reason we tell you guys to accept is because so many people get caught up trying to rewrite history instead of accepting the present. If I had done this, if I had done that, if the pandemic this, if this person did that, if my parents did this, if that, then I would not be here. And all of that thinking is completely useless because that shit happened. There are no ifs. Life, like, reality is here. You are unemployed. Accept it. And then people are sort of like, but then what about all the self-blame and shame and all that crap? Yeah, so like work through that, right? That's what we're here for too. But understand that, like, it's not your fault that you made mistakes before. I know it sounds kind of weird. You made those mistakes, but like the person that's here now has to clean that shit up. Like, the you of today is not the same you that was there a year ago. It's kind of weird. Right? Like, you have to, like, whatever. You did what you did. You can beat yourself up for it if you want to. You can also accept that you just made mistakes. And then change. It's not your fault. It's the dude from a year ago. Do you guys get that? It's kind of weird. But like, when I was 21 and failing in college, that wasn't me. It's not the me of today. It's the me of yesterday. Those are completely different people. Completely different people. You'll get that? Like 17 years ago, when I was failing out of college and went to India for the first time, I was not Dr. K. How on earth can I blame that kid for what he did? Like, he didn't know any better. The poor kid was so confused. He was grown up Indian. His parents were like, you got to be a doctor to mean something in life. He had a boner for going to Harvard and had zero chance of going there. Like, the kid, like, needed help. Why am I going to blame that kid? Like, he didn't know what he was doing. Like, how on earth could I expect that this kid would understand what I understand now? Clueless kid. It's not as bad. Like, he did the best that he could. Like, he was just so clueless. Like, cut the kid a break. He did what he could. And 17 years later, theoretically, it's the same mind and the same body, but it's a completely different person. So accept yourself where you are. If you made mistakes, you made mistakes. Right? That's the nature of things. You're not born. You don't pop out of your mother's womb at level 100. You pop out of your mother's womb at level 1. And then here you guys are at level 22, beating yourselves up for being level 6 and not being able to do stuff. When you spawn into this world, you're level 1. And depending on the RNG, sometimes you spawn with good gear. Sometimes you spawn with, like, some sweet loot, right? Like, you're in a guild, and they, like, give you all these legendaries. And so even though you're level 1, you could still down level 10 mobs. And some of y'all are born at level 1, and you're actually, like, given debuffs because of your upbringing. And then you beat yourselves up for being level 15 and grinding on level 10 mobs. That's because your parents gave you cursed gear. And it's like giving you penalties and stuff. And so what does it mean to accept? It means, like, this is what self-compassion is. You know, we talk like, oh, like, just have self-compassion, man. Just forgive yourself, bro. Learn to love yourself. Like, that's what that is. How do you do that? It's by acknowledging that the kid who was 17 years ago didn't know shit. Why am I going to blame him? This guy can't do anything. He's a noob. I'm going to get mad at him? I don't have the time to get mad at him. I have shit to do. And you guys should realize that too. Like, why are you beating yourself up? Okay, like 2 years ago, you fell in love with a girl. And you were like one of these nice guys. So you, like, asked her out, and then she said no. Then you called her the C word, and now she won't talk to you. And then you feel like such an idiot. And it's like, yeah, you were an idiot, but, like, did you know any better? Really? Are you gonna do it again? So accept that you did it. Accept that you don't know what you're doing. And then, like, change, right? Become a decent human being. Work on it. Try to understand yourself. So you should accept each and everything about yourself. You should also accept that, like, you weren't perfect a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, or shockingly, you're not perfect now. And that each and every iteration of u.exe has bugs. And it's gonna make mistakes. And you should debug that shit and improve whatever bugs you have. It's like, you know, u.exe version 2.29. And then u.exe version 2.31. But, like, you gotta accept that there are some bugs there before you can fix them. Right? And so life is a process of, like, balance patches and bug fixes. And you are the program. So you should absolutely accept and absolutely change. See, look, so someone's saying, okay, be careful. I'm so bugged, I'm fucked. Maybe kind of true, but let's be clear. Because one of the tricky things about the process is that our debugging process is sometimes messed up. So when you have things like depression, like, it's going to tell you that things are way worse than what you are. But that's a diagnostic that's produced by your mind. So you can't trust it. Right? It's tricky. Because in the mind of a depressed person, they're going to say, it's so hopeless. There's nothing that I can ever do to fix it. There's no point in trying. That's a bug. It's not a feature. Your mind telling you that is a bug. It's not a feature. Learning what you can trust about your mind is one of the most useful skills that I've ever learned. So it's funny because someone's saying in CS, every bug is a feature. Yeah, so we've got a good video about this on Dr. K's guide, but depression is a feature too, chat, right? So, like, I want y'all to think about this for a. It's going to be wild, okay? Think about this. Depression is a conserved experience across the human race. Conserved experiences across the human race tend to have evolution behind them. So it's actually a feature. And what it comes down to is we have this part of our brain called the default mode network. And depression is the evolutionary price we pay for having a default mode network. So what happened in our brain is we developed the capacity for self-reflection. So like if you look at what's different about humans versus most animals, it's metacognition. We can think about ourselves. So instead of just doing Pavlovian conditioning and trial and error, I can like think about myself, right? So instead of just figuring out what works in relationships, after I have 3 terrible relationships, my brain has the capacity using the default mode network to think about myself. And then I can ask myself the question, hey, am I doing something wrong in relationships? It's a meta level question. It's not like if, there's like the relationship level question, there's the meta, am I doing something wrong? Not is this wrong in a relationship? Am I doing something wrong? That capacity for metacognition, the ability to think about ourselves, is what allows us to dominate the planet. Because our problem-solving capability, it's like we have an AI in our brain that can like problem solve. It's not just Pavlovian conditioning. It's not like stimulus response reinforcement. It's like thinking about something on a higher level. And that part of the brain is called our default mode network. The interesting thing is that default mode network is hyperactive in depression. So what happens in depression is we think about ourselves too much. The circuit is stuck on. Oh, could I be doing this something better? Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so bad. The reason that I didn't get that job is because I'm so bad. You're thinking about you instead of the job. It's all like up here on a metacognitive level. People would be better off without me. Oh, the only reason that people are inviting me is because they're trying to be polite. They could never like me. It's all metacognitive thoughts about you as a person outside of the actual interaction. And so what we discovered is this thing called the default mode network. And when it goes haywire, which allows human beings to be metacognitive, when it goes haywire, we get depressed. And so then you can even ask the question, okay, what about, so theoretically, if I gave someone a chemical that shut off the default mode network, would it cure their depression? And the answer is yes. Yes, it will. We have chemicals that do that now. That's how the psychedelics tend to work. And cure is a strong word, but, it's how they tend to function. And then also meditation shuts off the default mode network. Interesting. Look at that. Meditation is a clinically effective treatment for depression, and it happens to shut off the default mode network. I wonder if there's a connection. Just from a safety perspective, they don't cure depression. And secondly, all of these things should be used under the guidance of a medical professional, because while they may have therapeutic benefits for treating depression, which are being studied in clinical trials, jury's still out there, we also want to be really careful because I have seen patients who have had PTSD and new anxiety disorders from using psychedelics. So it seems like most things, like if you think about anesthesia, right? Anesthesia can keep someone alive after an accident, and it can also kill them. So most things in medicine, like blood thinners are another great example of this. Blood thinners can prevent you from forming clots, and they can cause you to bleed to death. So most things in medicine should be done under the guidance of or all things in medicine should be done under the guidance of a medical professional, because of what we've discovered in medicine is that when you take some random ass compound that exists outside and you stick it in your body, it can have good effects and it can have bad effects. That's why we train people about how to give them properly.